In 1918, America had to borrow tank designs from France. By 1945, we were building the tanks that won World War II. Today, we're revolutionizing armored warfare with hybrid electric powertrains and advanced AI systems. But this transformation didn't happen overnight. Join us as we roll through 100 years of American tank evolution, where every breakthrough was paid for in blood and steel, and every design tells a story of adaptation and triumph. Origins in World War I, 1917 to 1918. In 1917, as American troops sailed across the Atlantic to join the Great War, they were about to enter a conflict that had already transformed into something unprecedented, the age of armored warfare. Just months earlier, the British had unleashed their tanks at the Battle of the Somme, and later at Cambrai, where 476 tanks proved they could break the dreaded trench stalemate. But America had a problem. We didn't have a single combat-ready tank of our own. Enter Captain George Patton, a cavalry officer who would transform American armor. Initially calling tanks iron coffins, his first encounter with a French Renault FT changed everything. Within weeks, he was writing extensive reports on tank tactics and volunteering to establish the American Tank Corps. Those words would mark the beginning of American tank warfare. While Patton trained crews at Langres, France, another future legend, Captain Dwight Eisenhower, was establishing Camp Colt in Pennsylvania. Together, these two men would shape not just America's tank forces, but the future of warfare itself. Our first tank, the M1917, was essentially an American-made Renault FT. Picture this, a 6.5-ton metal box with barely enough room for two men. Its 37mm cannon packed a punch, but at just 6 miles per hour, you could outwalk it. The armor, a mere 16mm thick, just enough to stop machine gun fire. But it had one revolutionary feature, a fully rotating turret, a design that would define tank warfare for the next century. Training was ruthlessly innovative. With only wooden mock-ups available, crews learned to operate in darkness, coordinate with infantry, and maintain their machines under fire. The communication system, a series of kicks from the commander to the driver, left kick for left turn, right kick for right, and heel to stop. September 12, 1918, St. Mihiel. Patton led 144 tanks into America's first tank battle. His pre-battle speech sent chills down spines. Remember, you are the first American tanks. You must establish the fact that American tanks do not surrender. At the Meuse-Argonne offensive, despite 40% of tanks breaking down before reaching their objectives, American armor proved its worth. Yes, they were slow. Yes, German artillery targeted them mercilessly. But these steel pioneers helped break the German line, supporting 3 American divisions in the advance. By war's end, America had built 950 M1917s, though only 64 reached France before the armistice. But the real victory wasn't in the numbers, it was in the lessons learned. We discovered that tanks weren't just support weapons, they were the future of warfare. As Patton later wrote in his post-war report, "The tank is here to stay. It will dominate the battlefield of the future." Interwar Period, 1919 to 1939. The guns had fallen silent. The war to end all wars was over, and with peace came a decision that would haunt American armor development for decades. By 1919, the mighty American Tank Corps that George Patton had built crumbled from 20,000 men to just 300. In a single year, we had virtually dismantled our entire armored force. Patton himself, frustrated by the military's short-sightedness, returned to his cavalry roots. In 1920, tanks lost their independent branch status entirely. The message was clear. America's military leadership saw tanks as a Great War novelty, not the future of warfare. While European nations continued developing new armored vehicles, American tank development entered what historians would call the dark years. But even in darkness, innovation finds a way. Meet the M1 light tank. Though we couldn't even call it a tank officially, it was designated a combat car to slip through bureaucratic restrictions. Armed only with machine guns and weighing under 15 tons, it was more of a mobile gun platform than a true tank. Then came the M2 light tank series, our first real step forward. A Continental W670 engine delivering 250 horsepower, 25mm welded armor, a 37mm gun, and 5 machine guns. At 35 miles per hour, it was faster than anything Germany had. Not bad for something designed on a shoestring budget. The M2 evolved into the M2A4, and Rock Island Arsenal went on to produce 375 units, proving our new capability to mass-produce tanks with impressive efficiency. In 1942, at Guadalcanal, the M2A4 finally saw combat with the 1st Marine Tank Battalion. Despite taking multiple hits bullets from Japanese anti-tank guns. They proved reliable in the brutal jungle conditions, but also showed America had some serious catching up to do. As the 1930s drew to a close, storm clouds gathered over Europe. German panzers were rolling off production lines by the thousands. The British were developing the Matilda II. The Soviets had their impressive T-34 in the works. Meanwhile, the United States was stuck with a light tank that was already becoming obsolete, far from prepared to meet the challenges ahead. The question was, could the United States catch up with its adversaries in tank development and tactics? The answer would come sooner than anyone expected. World War II, 1939 to 1945. In 1939, America's armored force consisted of just 400 tanks, mostly outdated models. By 1945, this would transform into an armored juggernaut of 90,000 machines that helped reshape the face of modern warfare. America's response to the war was unprecedented. The Detroit Tank Arsenal, built in 1941, could produce a complete Sherman tank every 30 minutes. The Lend-Lease program shipped over 11,000 tanks to Britain and 4,000 to the Soviet Union. This $50 billion mobilization effort, nearly $700 billion in today's money, created the largest tank force in American history. The M3 Stuart, weighing 14.7 tons and armed with a 37mm gun, marked America's combat debut. During Operation Crusader in North Africa, the British 8th Army deployed 170 Stuarts against Rommel's Afrika Korps. While its 37mm rounds bounced off German Panzer IIIs and IVs, the Stuart's reliable Wright Continental R975 engine and 36 mph top speed made it perfect for reconnaissance. In the Pacific, the 1st Tank Battalion used Stuarts to devastating effect against Japanese forces at Guadalcanal. Next came the M3 Lee, a tank born of desperate times. With its unusual sponson-mounted 75mm gun and towering profile, it was far from perfect. British tankers dubbed it a mobile coffin due to its height, making it an easy target. Still, with solid frontal armor and decent firepower, 3,000 Lees helped hold the line until something better arrived. And better it was. Enter the M4 Sherman, America's most iconic tank. Weighing 33 tons and armed with a versatile 75mm M3 gun, the Sherman could penetrate 87mm of armor at 100 yards. Its Continental R975 engine, later upgraded to the Ford GAA V8, powered it to 30 mph. However, the Sherman faced challenges. Its gasoline engine could ignite when hit, and its 75mm gun struggled against Panthers and Tigers. At Normandy, 5 Shermans were typically needed to knock out 1 Tiger. Early models earned the grim nickname Tommy Cooker due to ammunition storage issues, though this was later fixed with the wet storage system. Yet the Sherman proved itself repeatedly. Operation Cobra, July 1944. 2,000 Sherman spearheaded the Normandy breakout. Battle of Leyte, October 1944. Marine Shermans destroyed 35 Japanese tanks. Battle of the Bulge, December 1944. Easy 8 Shermans helped stop the German offensive. The Sherman's greatest strength wasn't its armor or gun. It was American industry's ability to produce it in overwhelming numbers. When a German Tiger took out a Sherman, 3 more would take its place. These tanks were sustainable, adaptable, and most importantly, available when and where they were needed. By war's end, the Sherman tank became a symbol of American industrial might. The tank that helped win the war not through superior technology, but through reliability, adaptability, and sheer numerical supremacy. Cold War era, 1945 to 1991. As World War II's dust settled, a new conflict emerged. America's tanks, which had just defeated Nazi Germany, now faced a different challenge, the Soviet threat. In Korea, the proven Sherman tanks rolled into battle once again, but they weren't alone. The M26 Pershing, which had arrived too late to make its mark in World War II, finally got its chance. However, the real star was about to emerge, the M46 Patton, named after America's famous tank commander. With its powerful 90mm gun and robust armor, it proved more than a match for Soviet T-34s on the frozen Korean peninsula. As the battlefield shifted to Vietnam's jungles, the M48 Patton became America's armored workhorse. Urban combat and dense vegetation demanded innovation, leading to the introduction of the lightweight M551 Sheridan. Although controversial due to its light armor and armament choices, the Sheridan adapted to its new role, supporting infantry through the challenging Vietnamese terrain. But the crown jewel of Cold War armor was the M60, America's first true main battle tank. Combining heavy tank firepower with medium tank mobility, it was designed for the modern age. Its 105mm gun could punch through Soviet armor, while up to 10 inches of steel protected its 4-man crew. Powered by a 750 horsepower engine, this 30 mph beast became America's frontline defender in Europe. marked a significant advancement in American armored capabilities and laid the groundwork for future armored warfare. Modern era, 1980 to present. In 1980, American tank warfare entered a new era with a machine that would redefine armored warfare, the M1 Abrams. This wasn't just another tank. It was a revolution on tracks, wrapped in classified composite armor and powered by a turbine engine that could push 60 tons to 45 miles per hour. The Abrams brought science fiction to the battlefield. Its thermal imaging could spot targets through darkness and dust, while its sophisticated fire control system made every shot count. The world witnessed its power in 1991. At the Battle of 73 Eastings, Captain H.R. McMaster's Abrams tanks charged through a sandstorm, their thermal sights cutting through the haze. In less than an hour, American tanks destroyed over 60 Iraqi armored vehicles without a single loss. Iraqi gunners would later say American tanks seemed to appear from nowhere, strike with devastating accuracy, and vanish like desert ghosts. When warfare moved to cities, the Abrams adapted. The tank urban survival kit transformed it into a street fighter, while its 120mm gun proved it could dominate any battlefield. Today's Abrams is even more formidable. The M1A2 SCP-V3 boasts enhanced IED protection, advanced targeting, and improved communications that make it the center of a digital battlefield network. But the future is even more revolutionary. The Abrams X represents the biggest leap forward since 1980. Hybrid electric drive cuts fuel consumption by half. AI assistance and autonomous capabilities reduce the crew to 3. An unmanned turret and auto-loading system make it deadlier than ever, while network-centric integration makes it the tip of a digital spear. From the humble beginnings of the French-designed FTs to today's AI-driven behemoths, American tanks tell a story of relentless evolution. One thing remains clear: the American tank isn't just adapting to the future, it's shaping it. From the trenches to cyberspace, it stands as the ultimate symbol of American military innovation.